Hey guys, my name is Amanda and today we're going to be making an Olla, which is, could be a water jug, could be a jar for dry goods. If you make them a little bit wider, they can also be for cooking, but it's classic jar that Kumeyaay make and still make. Okay, so this is going to be what your kit comes with, which is some clay. This is your anvil. This is going to be your paddle, and then a form to make it off of. And then just suggestions would be maybe a little bit of water and a regular kitchen knife. So what we're going to start with is the form and a little bit of clay. So you can cut off like maybe about the size of like a ping pong ball or so. And make sure to wrap this up because especially when it's hot, it gets dry real fast. Okay, then you're gonna make it into a ball and you're just gonna like give it a couple pats between your palms. So maybe it's like, maybe a little thicker than like a Thin Mint. Then you're gonna put it on your form and you wanna kinda center it. And you can do it on the table, but I prefer to pick it up. It's just easier for me to feel the thickness, but you'll start by just kind of using your hands to make the shape match the round. And then what we're gonna do is take the paddle and we're just gonna like stretch this out. So you can kind of start from the middle and kind of go around in a circle, kind of tapping and dragging. And then you can always take it off and see kind of how it's going. So not very deep yet, and there's like a little thickness in here, so we want to, this is the part where it always hides. So we really want to get that middle part. And it's starting to stretch out, starting to form. You can kind of feel it. Maybe this side is a little thick still, so I'll just work on stretching that out. But it's pretty close. And then you can just kind of rub your paddle over it. Okay, and then you can like fold in the edges. So you could just basically be done here and make a bunch of like little bowls. This amount of clay will like give you a bunch of little bowls. Or you can go to the next step, which is going to be to put the coils on it, and that's how we're going to make the rest of the pot. But yeah, you can kind of fix it as you like, and then what you want to do is like, you want it to be not quite so floppy. So I have this one that's maybe been drying for 30 minutes or so, and it's still kind of squishy, but definitely a lot less floppy than the other one. So now we can go into our bag and get a coil. Yeah, maybe same ping pong size shape. So if you have a table like either like some cardboard or something that's just not shiny, you can just put it like straight on the table or on some newspaper and roll it like that. But if you don't really have a good surface for it, then you can just kind of roll it between your hands until it stretches out. not going to worry about that. Just keep stretching. And it's getting a little cracky, so we can put a little water on it before we put it on. Okay, so then we're just going to stick this coil straight on our base, and so you can kind of line it up like that, and then the first one you can like push over to the front, and then you can push on the back too. That'll help it stay a little better. Yeah, if you can see that. And then you just want to take it and start working it into the base. And then that little bit of coil that broke off, I can just continue back with that. Kind of pinch that off and save it for later. Okay, so that's basically, it's basically attached on the outside, but then we're going to want to do the same thing on the inside. And right here, you can just kind of smooth this together. Okay, so it's attached. Our pot's a little bigger. It's a little kind of lumpy on here and still a little thick, and then that's what the paddle and anvil is going to help out with. So you want to take your, I like on my non-dominant hand to hold the anvil, this guy, and then the paddle, and then what you do is kind of right where we were blending them in, you can just kind of give it like a couple taps and go around. Kind of like you're stretching the clay up. Okay, so it's kind of like blending it a little more, and then so it got wide. We don't want it to get too wide, so you can just kind of crunch it back up, and then this part that's kind of funny, you can just like fold it kind of like on itself, because then we're going to start stretching like up. But now I can just kind of come up here, and so I'm kind of like tapping and it's sort of moving it up. You can kind of see there. I'm kind of forming it to the anvil every time I go around so that it's like turning. It's like turning in instead of just like kind of flaring out. So that's pretty good, and then I can go back in here and kind of work in that inside a little more. But otherwise, this guy's pretty good to go for the next coil. Okay, so this is going to be my second ball. It's a little bit bigger than the first one, so might be more than I need, but we'll just try it. And I'll show you how to roll it on the table. And you can, even if you're using like a piece of cardboard, you can just kind of get it a little wet to help it from drying out so much. And then you can still start it in your hands. And then you're going to roll this way and then roll that way. So let's see if this is big enough. Yeah, probably gonna be okay. Part's a little funny, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay. So then we're just gonna do the same thing. Is start it on one part, kind of push it into the last layer on each side, and then we'll just continue smoothing it in. Okay, it's kind of blended in, and you can see it flared like way out. It always kind of wants to do that. So before we start pinching, we're just going to kind of form it back, because I do want a belly, but not that big of a belly. Okay, and then we can do the same thing. It's like a little more upright now. We can do the same thing. If you wanted to just kind of leave this as like a bowl or a cooking pot, you could start working the rim out, and then it just kind of, sort of in the same way, it just kind of needs a little rim, and we'll like smooth it the same way, but I'm not done yet, so we'll keep going on this. So looking pretty round. Still kind of like a nice curve in here. And then I think the next one we're going to start going in. So you can kind of put the coil and just imagine that it's going to be kind of rocking to the inside a little bit instead of kind of more out that way. Okay, I'm doing the inside. It already wants to stretch into a bowl, but just make sure it's not going to be a bowl. So just think you're kind of sort of pushing it over. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna make it into a circle first, just so it doesn't try to come out on me. Okay. And for this, I'm kind of maybe just do a little tacks. And these little cracks. That's okay. Okay, last coil. We're gonna make the rim out of this. So you could totally leave it looking like this, which is a nice shape, or we can flare it just a tad. So I'll show you guys how to do that.
Can I just hang out with you instead of my...